Part 4. Nazarick Time 21:07. Demiurge's elegant form appeared in Ains's office. First, he bowed deeply to the seated Ains, and then nodded in deference to Mare and Cositus, who were waiting within. He spared the maid assigned to this room a glance of acknowledgement. Ains answered with a look, and then spoke to Entema via message. "All right, Entema, tell Lupus Regina she has permission to set off. Those three must be protected no matter the cost." "Understood. I will relay your orders to Lupus Regina." Demiurge walked to the center of the room, free of worries. His stylish stride made Ains envious. How shall I describe it? Every move he makes overflows with confidence. Is it because his back is very straight? Demiurge halted crisply, bringing Ains back to his senses. "It is good that you've come, Demiurge." "Yes. I thank you for summoning me before you, Ains-sama. Have you finished speaking with Entema?" "Everything is fine. She reported back to me, and discussed the matter with me. She has passed this test." "Wonderful. In addition, I thank you for making time for me, Ains-sama." "Pay it no heed, Demiurge. It is only fitting that I should match myself to the man who has done the most for Nazarick. In addition, you are not late, so do not worry. Now then, tell me what you think." Ains handed the piece of paper he was holding to Demiurge. Demiurge received it, and Ains saw him quickly scan it from top to bottom before asking. "As you can see, this is a menu, but what do you think of it? The meal is for a human male and female, and possibly a child. I think that any human being must consume whatever you deign to provide for them without complaint, Ains-sama. However, I feel that is not the answer you seek, therefore if there is a child, they might not enjoy foie gras. In addition, lighter dishes might be more ideal." "I see. That certainly bears consideration. I thank you. You honor me with your praise. Ains-sama, do you intend to invite people to the great underground tomb of Nazarick into the sanctuary of the supreme beings as your guests?" "Indeed. Intend to be hospitable. Or rather, it was not so much hospitality as entertaining. This was a form of coercion backed by wealth, and tended to keep him on good terms with him." "Is that wise? Does it matter? Is there a problem?" "No, none at all. After all, whatever you speak is correct, Ains-sama. In the past, when this had all been in the game world, the great underground tomb of Nazarick had played host to very few people other than the guild members. At the very most, they had invited the little sister of the guild member Yumiko, whose player name was Akemi-chan, a few times. However, the guild did not forbid inviting anyone. It was simply that nobody had thought to do so. Which is why my friends ought to have no issue with me inviting Nefiria and the others. Invaders are different from guests." Ains then turned to Demiurge, who was pondering something, and the other two guardians who had been waiting in the room before he asked. "Guardians, are you ready to enter the baths? Forgive me. Mare and I were planning to borrow bathing equipment along the way." "I see. Then, Cositus, so you brought yours along. Then we shall meet in the baths. Increment, if anyone comes, have them wait for me here." "Understood." After hearing the maid's reply, Ains stood up and left his room. After ordering the vassals who usually trailed him around to remain where they were, he led the way to the baths, which were also on the 9th floor. Ains very much wanted to chat with Cositus as they walked side by side, but Cositus was a very serious person and would never do such a thing. This made Ains feel a little lonely. Cositus probably had not read his heart, but he approached Ains and asked, "Ains-sama, there seemed to be fewer 8-edge assassins in the room just now. Did you send them somewhere?" Ains felt a little disappointed when he discovered that it was work-related. But he also comforted himself by thinking that this was what Cositus considered casual conversation, and so he replied to Cositus. He very nearly let the excitement creep into his voice, but in the end he decided that it would be better to keep it a secret. They are at the Rantolin. Narbrol is waiting there in case we have an unexpected visitor. They ought to be observing the situation from afar. Is it not dangerous to leave Narbrol alone by herself? Quite. If anyone plans to attack, they ought to do so now. See. So, she is live bait. Then, indeed, if the person who brainwashed Shaltir is observing our every movement, this bait will surely have them drooling. After Morn defeated the mighty vampire Shaltir, granted, she was known by a different name, nobody attempted to approach him. That being the case, if Morn is not around, leaving the magic caster all by herself, they will take the bait. I don't know, but if they do, I will be a master baiter. Ains mimed the action of pulling up a fishing pole. Will we mobilize all our forces? Then, as if I won't do that. First, we'll feel out our opponent. If they're as strong as us, or stronger, then we'll have to be more humble. Cositus groaned. He understood the reasoning behind that decision, so he had no choice but to bear with it. The logical part of me knows it is only temporary thing, but emotionally find it hard to keep my cool. Bear with it until we've checked them out thoroughly and found our opposition's weaknesses. Once that happens, I will have them taste the purest of pain. I will not forgive them for daring to brainwash Shaltir and forcing me to put her down. Even if they were players, Ains did not feel the slightest bit of empathy for them. The only people Ains cared for were the NPCs or his old friends. If anyone aroused his ire, he would subject them to a fate worse than death in order to show them the foolishness of their ways. Repay good unto good and evil unto evil. Is that not to be expected? Ains smiled coldly, as a surge of excitement welled up inside him. If the opposition really were players, then he could conduct far better experiments. The first of them would probably be the one he dared not perform with himself, that of death. An eye for an eye, and tooth for tooth. Then, correct. However, did you know that phrase was originally meant to warn against excessive retribution, so I did not use it. That's because I intend to pay them back with interest. Punito-san said that. Ains added in his heart. Oh, expected no less of you, Ains-sama. Not only are you supremely skilled warrior, but your intellect is beyond compare. Truly am in awe. Ains did not need to look back to feel the wave of respect pressing down on him from behind. Then, do you plan to spend the entire day in Nazarick? Ains-sama. No, after I bathe with everyone, I'll take care of some work here before going over there in the middle of the night, because there's a lot of things which need to be settled over there as well. How about yourself? Plan to temporarily return to my position guarding Nazarick, since the matters which require my personal presence at the lakeside have all been concluded. Once you return, the only ones working outside will be Demiurge, who has many tasks to complete, Sebas and Solution, who are gathering information in the royal capital, Aura, who is building a base in the forest, and then Nabril and myself find it hard to accept the fact that Supreme Being must personally handle work we should have taken on. Forgive me, Cositus. There is no need. Ain-sama, you rule this place, and so your every word is law. What just said was mere foolishness. In addition, the mood in the air seemed to have changed, and Ains found it odd. Looking back, he saw Cositus looking somewhat gloomy, although he could not tell from his face. If we were as capable as Demiurge, you would not need to exert yourself. In the end, it boils down to our lack of ability. That's not true. When everyone made you, they sought to create the right person for the job. That being the case, the most important thing for you is to finish your assigned tasks. Frankly speaking, it doesn't matter if you can't do anything else. Although, the fact that Demiurge is somewhat more intelligent and more knowledgeable means he can tackle a wider range of problems. Cositus did not seem to be able to accept that, so Ains continued. In that case, you should focus on slowly learning how to handle more things. For instance, you are now in charge of the Lizardman village, so you should have learned a lot from it. Ruling that village will surely aid you in the future. As long as you slowly proceed, step by step, someday you will come to be on par with Demiurge. Can really do that. I feel that you can't say it's impossible. Ains replied in a roundabout manner. Nobody can surpass Demiurge's intellect. In order to equal him, you must walk an arduous road. But I believe your efforts will not be wasted. The two of them continued silently along the corridor. Soon, Cositus quietly said, "Thank you, Ain-sama. I don't think I've said anything which deserves your thanks." "Alright, Cositus, we're almost at the bath. Cheer up before Demiurge and Mare come." Yes. Spa Resort Nazarick was located on the 9th floor of Nazarick. It was a comfortable place of leisure which boasted 9 separate outdoor-themed baths and 17 indoor-themed baths for both men and women. The most impressive of them was the Cherenkov bath. Its warm water radiated an actinic blue light, allowing bathers to enjoy a decadent atmosphere. TL note: Cherenkov radiation is the blue glow typically associated with underwater nuclear reactors. Ains, who had reached the baths in Cositus's company, was utterly shocked when he saw an unexpected someone's Ain-sama end chapter.